Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, March 23, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below, letting me know what the that's been like in your year recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go out to the next 168 hours, that's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright, so as we head into Monday morning, what do we see? We see some dots of greens that represent some isolated shores to the north of us, some of it across eastern Jamaica. And then by Monday afternoon on the Euro, we have some of the dots of greens that represent some isolated shores across the northwestern end of the island. Let's see if we have the consensus on the GFS. Monday morning, showing rainfall to the north of us, out to sea, to the south of Cuba. Monday afternoon has that rainfall across northwestern parishes too. We also see a little speck of green across the eastern end. And then as we head into Tuesday morning, we see rainfall to our west, we see rainfall to our south, and we see rainfall across eastern Jamaica on the Euro. The GFS, well, not the GFS, but in the afternoon, we have that rainfall also across eastern, central, and western parishes on the Euro. What does the GFS show for the same time period? Tuesday morning, more so rainfall to the north of us, to the southwest of us. Tuesday afternoon has rainfall to our south and across eastern Jamaica. The end of the day on Tuesday has rainfall to the west of us or across western parishes. Very different from what the Euro was just showing. Heading into Wednesday morning, what do we see for 12Z on Wednesday, which is actually 7 a.m.? Some dots of greens represent some isolated shores across eastern Jamaica. Then on Wednesday afternoon, we start rainfall across sections of mainly central and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Wednesday morning, rainfall to our west, rainfall across the far eastern end of the island. Wednesday afternoon, rainfall across sections of some southern parishes. What do we see on Thursday morning? Thursday morning has rainfall to our south and east. Then on Thursday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let's see what the GFS is showing. Thursday morning, not much of anything in and around the island, but Thursday afternoon shows some rainfall across maybe section of the southwestern end. Very different from what the Euro was just showing. What do we see on Friday morning? We see some definite rainfall across the north coast and the eastern end of the island. Then by Friday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes on the Euro. What does the GFS show? Friday morning, just like what the Euro was showing, that rainfall across sections of some northern and eastern parishes. Friday afternoon, having that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Very interesting. What do we see on Saturday morning? Saturday morning still has that lingering rainfall across the waters to our north, especially northeastern parishes. Then Saturday afternoon still has that rainfall across northern Jamaica, maybe even affecting sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes in the early afternoon hours. Very interesting. And then we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for 7 a.m. on Sunday, March 30. And we still see an abundance of moisture across the north coast, to the northwest of us, to the south and the east of us. Very interesting that it's going to be getting even wetter as we wrap up the month of March. What does the GFS show? Do we have consensus? Yes, we do. Saturday morning has that rainfall still across northeastern parishes. Saturday afternoon has that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. So we're definitely liking what we're seeing. The more we wrap up March, the wetter it's going to be getting. That's what we want. We know that March is the driest month of the year, so we'll take any rainfall that we can get. I'm sure that you've been seeing how dry it has been. Hills are brown, lots of bushfires here and there. Fire trucks can't catch a break. And we see that even by the end of the 168 hours, we are having an increase in moisture across the Caribbean, Cuba, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico. Look at all of the greens. Very interesting. Even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps for the next 7 days have an abundance of colors. Look at all of these greens into the yellows, into oranges and reds. That represents what we see here on the key on the right. That's the 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to an inch or more of rainfall. Well, we know the burgundies into the purples and the pinks represents anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of rainfall. And we know the most in the way of rainfall is represented by that one, the burgundies into the purples and the pinks. And that's definitely going to be plaguing areas where we have the consensus on both the Euro and the GFS models, like eastern Cuba, section of Hispaniola, section of Suriname and French Guyana, not to mention section of western Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, into sections of Costa Rica right here. And we not only see that being shown on the Euro, but even the GFS is showing something similar. And we see the greens into the yellows, into the oranges, and the rest represents up to an inch of rainfall or less for areas such as the eastern Yucatan, Belize, Guatemala, section of El Salvador, Honduras, eastern Nicaragua, sections of northern Venezuela, the ABC Islands, southern Venezuela, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, sections of the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, the Bahamas, and Turks and Caicos clearly going to be getting in on some amount of rainfall within the next 7 days. And regarding Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation forecast, we can clearly see that there's going to be a lot of rainfall, especially across the northeastern end of the island, where we see these yellows into the oranges. That represents anywhere from 30 millimeters of rainfall all the way up to 68 right here on the Euro. GFS going up to 67, so we're getting in on some consensus in terms of the location and the rainfall totals. And we also see the greens into the yellows. That represents anywhere from 15 millimeters all the way up into maybe 40 or more millimeters of rainfall. And we know most of this rainfall across the northeastern end will be experienced as we head into the weekend, and it's going to be across the northeastern end during the morning, and we know the rest of the island is going to be getting in on their fair share of rainfall during the afternoon. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a ridge of high pressure right here to the east of Florida, a ridge of high pressure right here close to the Azores Islands. And we know these ridges of high pressure are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And we can see numerous broken orange lines right here to the north of the Caribbean, associated with some troughs, a frontal system right here off the east coast of the US, troughs to the west and to the east of that frontal system. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, we can make out all of these entities. All of the clouds to the north of the main development region and the Caribbean associated with the frontal systems and the troughs, and we can make out the low to mid-level flow of the clouds being steered from east to west across the main development region into the Caribbean, all courtesy of the ridges of high pressure to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Sunday, March 23, 2025. It was stated that rainfall would have been in the forecast for parts of some northern parishes on Sunday morning, also affecting sections of some central and eastern parishes, maybe even some western parishes during the afternoon. And what ended up happening? Well, I guess this was supposed to say western parishes, not eastern parishes at all, if you remember yesterday's forecast. So I guess this was an error on our part right here. So it was definitely slated our central western parishes in the afternoon, northern parishes in the morning. And we know northern parishes, we're talking about those parishes on top, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. While central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. Western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At around 8:01 a.m., the visible satellite image was posted right here on our Twitter page with Jamaica, as well as on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can see the visible satellite image that was posted at around 8:01 a.m. highlighting some clouds, bring some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, anywhere from St. Anne eastward, St. Mary, Portland, definitely where we got the isolated morning showers, if not overcast skies for sure. Then at around 3:01 p.m., the visible satellite image was posted yet again, highlighting some clouds, bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, to sections of some western parishes, as well as inland areas of some central parishes. We're talking about maybe northern Clarendon, northwestern St. Catherine, northern Manchester, section of northern St. Elizabeth, southwestern or western Trelawney, section of southern St. James, section of southwestern Hanover, and majority of Westmoreland got on overcast skies, if not some isolated shower activity. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost the sunlight, we can make out all of these clouds exiting the west coast of the island, exiting Hanover and Westmoreland for sure, and the leftover clouds across sections of the St. Elizabeth and northern Manchester area. And we see that we lost the sunlight and it was definitely clearing out. And even the infrared close-up satellite imagery was showing that we didn't get in on much of anything in terms of convection, no blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds, blacks, grays, or purples. Just some grays into white shades that represent the low to mid-level clouds being steered from east to west by the easterly flow. And we have the live camera right here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel showing the timestamp 12:19 p.m. and we can see that it was definitely dry at that time, but overcast, people in their vehicles going about their business, and we can see the real Cobra right there chilling for sure. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica's YouTube channel. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure. They not only have the flat bridge camera, but they have halfway tree, the panoramic city view, and crossroads. And they are planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. And if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map isn't 100% accurate, but it does paint quite the picture of where we might have had that rainfall today. Definitely across sections of some northern parishes in the morning, then sections of some western parishes during the afternoon, as well as inland areas of some central parishes for sure. And if we take a look at some of the comments that came in from some of our subscribers and followers, we have active 4081 posting 3 hours ago stating very windy in South Clarendon right now, thanks for confirming. And we even have on our TikTok page True Boost stating Mobe sunny and some nice winds. Our Facebook page has Domore Dabi confirming sunny in St. Anne, as well as Esther Retzi stating rain in St. Mary. Even on our Twitter page we had Fest Genius confirming the windy conditions in his area. Thank you guys very much for confirming what the weather was like in your area. Alright, so let us reload the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website. And the very latest still image is showing 0035 UTC, which is actually 7:35 p.m. So this just came out 11 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:46 p.m. right now. And we can make out the clouds right here across the waters to the west of us. Still have some leftover clouds across western Westmoreland. and that's basically it. Do we actually have some rainfall within these clouds? Let us reload the latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery to confirm. You know, the Doppler radar imagery shows the actual rainfall as opposed to the satellite imagery that shows cloud cover, and we can have cloud cover over an area and not necessarily rainfall. This is why the Doppler radar is so detrimental, so good in general. So the latest Doppler radar image is as of 8:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7:40 p.m. Jamaica time. So this just came out 6 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:46 p.m. right, well 7:47 p.m. right now in Jamaica. And what do we see? We see some leftover rain bands right here to the west of us. We see the greens into the yellows that represent some amount of moderate. As we see here, moderado represents moderate, and fuerte, that's some stronger heavy rainfall in some of these greens, some of these yellows right there. All of this pushing off towards the west. And if we take a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuba naval radar imagery, you can make out some isolated shores to the north of Guantanamo across eastern Cuba. You can also make out some isolated shores across the far western peninsula of Haiti, and that's basically it. If we take a look at what's happening right now on See Jamaica's YouTube channel, the live camera showing 7:46 p.m. We can see people walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business for sure. Nothing in the way of bad weather taking place, definitely fair as we speak. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we're 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 21 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Monday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Monday. We can see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight orange colors. That represents up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperature for the month of March across Jamaica is around 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit. And when that's converted to degrees Celsius, that's around 30.7 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 30.7 to 32.7 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Monday. And we are pleased to announce that my JPS Online doesn't have anywhere highlighted for any maintenance outage advisory. I know that we usually have to highlight these because we know that when we have power outages somewhere, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So we're indeed grateful that there are no maintenance outages up for Monday, March 24. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat. As usual, it states here, when outside, seek shade. Eat fresh. Try eating cold foods such as salads and fruit. Rest. Make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired. So take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. Drink lots of water. Keep hydrated throughout the day, even if you're not thirsty. And put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those areas. You can see an abundance of dry air off the west coast of Africa. We can see a lot of dry air across sections of the central Caribbean, of the east coast of the US as well. But we do see the low end of the scale in terms of dry air within some of that across the Atlantic. Some of these yellows right here represents the low end of the scale, as we can see here. Maybe some moisture. But what we want to see is these blues that we see across the eastern Pacific as well as across the southern main development region. That is the most moist air across the entire western hemisphere. And it makes sense. The intertropical convergence zone right here is where the northern hemisphere's winds meets the southern hemisphere's winds. So we usually have lift and more clouds formulating, more showers and thunderstorms, and we see all of that extending into the eastern Pacific right here. So it makes sense that those areas are the most moist. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 1 p.m. on Monday, we can see all of the Saharan dust extending from the main development region across the southern main development region into portions of northern South America right here. We see the browns, especially even more robust across sections of Europe and Africa, where we have the most intensity 25 all the way to 1,000 or less. That's what we don't want to see, the dark shades of browns that can cause very hazy skies, not to mention trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons. So we're indeed grateful that the Caribbean, where we have Jamaica, North America, Central America, South America, all these areas are in the clear, and at least the low end of the scale in terms of the Saharan is being experienced across portion of Northern and South America. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, still have a repeat of today, some high wave heights being experienced from the Eastern Caribbean to the Central and Southwestern Caribbean. We have these purples into the pinks into the burgundies. It represents anywhere from 2 all the way up to maybe 4 meter wave heights. We have the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues extending from the Gulf into the Northwestern Caribbean and the Greater Antilles. That represents anywhere from 0.1 of a meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave heights. On the north coast tomorrow it's going to be up to 1.4 meter wave heights. South coast 2.5 meter wave height, and that's because of the winds that are expected. We see the yellows, definitely strong wind, which explains the windy conditions today. Up to 25 to 30 knots expected, especially across the waters to the south of Haiti and Jamaica, all of this pushing westward. And we see the greens as well, representing anywhere from 5 to 15 knots. But regarding Jamaica's winds tomorrow, on the north coast, wind should be averaging 18 knots coming in from the east, averaging 19 knots from the east, 21 in some spots, maybe even gusting to 25. We see the flow of the winds kind of looks more east southeasterly than easterly in a sense. So who knows, maybe some of the air might just pile up across sections of some northern or northwestern parishes, and whatever comes off of the sea from the east could definitely bring us some isolated shores across eastern parishes. And with the upper level winds coming in from the west, if we actually get some convection, those high cold cloud tops will be sheared off towards the east. Taking a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now. Both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are showing 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we didn't see much of anything in the morning. That doesn't mean that we can't get some isolated morning showers in the east. But the afternoon shows that we have some blue shades representing rainfall across eastern Jamaica as well as the northwestern end. So we could get some isolated showers across section of Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, maybe Westmoreland. And we see that the Euro model is showing something similar. The Euro model even trying to incorporate portions of St. Anne and Western St. Mary in the mix. We'll say it actually plays out either way. Look out for that 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time rainfall, which is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time. Rainfall across the northwestern end, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, as well as maybe eastern Portland and eastern St. Thomas. And we even have the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps, confirming that it should be raining in Jamaica somewhere tomorrow. Eastern end, western end, we see those areas shaded. The GFS has the western area shaded the most, up to 0.18 of an inch of rainfall. The Euro model has up to 0.21 of an inch of rainfall expected for the eastern end. We'll say it actually plays out, and whatever happens, we'll definitely take it, because we're in the month of March. We're in the driest month of the year, and in Kingston, this bar graph is being shown right here at the top. We usually receive up to 10 millimeters of rainfall for March. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive up to 2.2 inches of rainfall for March. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of March or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website will show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the calculations yourself. Alright, so that is it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we have some upper level clouds being sheared off from southwest to northeast. None of these clouds have moisture within them, but where we do have the moisture is across sections of the Greater Antilles. Look at Hispaniola, Eastern Cuba, and Puerto Rico. We definitely have some low to mid-level clouds being steered from east to west. We also see some clouds crashing into portions of the eastern Yucatan and Belize as usual. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar imagery of the Puerto Rico area, are we gonna find that imagery? No, it doesn't seem like it, but we're looking at the weather via Doppler radar imagery right here. You can see that we're definitely getting on some isolated shores across section of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico right here. We also see some isolated shores coming into portion of the eastern section of the Yucatan Peninsula. We also see some rainfall across sections of Colombia, sections of Guyana too. And if we zoom in on the Barbados radar, we can make out the isolated shores coming in from the east. Maybe some of the sprinkles could affect Barbados, if not already. We see some of it already affecting section of Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia. Maybe some of it already affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines, more so the Grenadines. And even if we scroll down, we see some of the isolated shores pushing in from east to west into portions of Tobago and even Trinidad. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, if it's not already affecting the islands right now, it's definitely coming within the next 24 hours for areas such as Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, section of Puerto Rico, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica, sections of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, scrolling down coastal areas of Guyana, section of French Guyana, section of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica is where the most rainfall within the next 24 hours is expected. And maybe some isolated shores for eastern Nicaragua, section of coastal areas of Honduras, eastern Belize, and eastern portions of the Yucatan Peninsula. Maybe even some isolated shores for sections of the Cayman Islands. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the JFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.